Okay. Hey, Pisces. Welcome to Catalyst Energies and welcome to your weekly astrology forecast. We are looking at the week of December 26th, 2021 to our official official first new moon of 2022 that is actually happening on the 2nd of January. 2022. And we're actually going to be looking at the astrology of this weekend, right? The 24th and 25th, because it is just off the charts phenomenal. It is so impactful and so potentially disruptive that we need to talk about it. And then we will look at the third quarter moon squaring the sun on the 26th and then jump right to the new moon. And get an idea of these areas of life, Pisces, that these major transits. Now, so far, as I've been recording these videos and these reports, it seems that a lot of the focus is on the weekend itself because it's just setting the stage in so many different ways that a lot of my attention and focus is there. So throughout the week, there will be information, there'll be reports, transmissions to kind of guide us all along as we go through these processes. And you can also check out the astrology report that is the general astrology report for the weekend and then for the week to get familiar with the transits themselves and what they can represent. But this Pisces is to look at where in your chart and then to expand on that, where in your life these transits might be having the most impact or showing up. And that way we can that way we can be aware and conscious and intentional about our soul's journey and the way that this blueprint unfolds for each of us. So Pisces, what we're looking at is a lot of Capricorn energy. Oh, this isn't Pisces. Hold on, guys. I'm so sorry. I thought that I had said it and I had not. I'll get there. Hold on. There we go. There we go. All right, Pisces. So what we're finding here is that a lot of heavy Capricorn energy now that the sun is here, right? We had the December solstice, Mercury is in Capricorn, and Venus in her retrograde is going to meet Pluto for the second time on the 25th. So this is the realm of the social organism as a whole, Pisces. We're also going to have Jupiter move into your first house, actually on the 28th, but in the meantime, this very potent opposition between Jupiter and the moon that's happening very early in the morning on the 24th, maybe even late in the evening on the 23rd, depending on where you are, that is along your horizontal axis of your consciousness. And this has a lot to do for Pisces in particular, this tension with something within, deep within, being unsealed in terms of the work that you have been doing on a daily basis, your devotion, your discipline, all of these sixth house themes that have to do with the habits and routines and the way that we work with the material reality to make ourselves into the most purified and reconstituted, the best version and reconstituted version of ourselves. And so as the moon has been moving through Leo, a lot of people are feeling very much like they need to tell their story, or they're becoming very sensitive to their story and their own solar expression, right? Leo is us being our authentic and sovereign selves, and something becomes unsealed at the very end of Leo, something that we have cultivated within us that can't be kept in anymore. And for Pisces people, this moon opposite Jupiter that is about to come into your first house and just be a sigh of relief into who you are in a way that is going to help manage the very nature of who you are, as opposed to Neptune, that's been in your first house for a very long time, that is been probably very confusing and just destroying and dissolving all boundaries between you and everything else, so that it's very hard to know who you are versus the collective coming right into your very identity. With Jupiter here, there's an advocate now. There is this expansive but very powerful and leader-oriented energy. Jupiter is a manager. Jupiter is a lawyer, right? You got Jupiter now in your corner in terms of your identity, Pisces. But before that happens, there is something very powerful that is in like I said, something that you're very sensitive to, something that you're feeling very deeply that needs to be released. And maybe it's just about all of the work that you've been, the realm of your daily activity, the realm of surrendering to yourself, the realm of your works and your service. It's time to let it out. It's time to let it out, because then when Jupiter comes into your first house, you have something to actually work with and to manage when it comes to who you are as a person, because Jupiter has been transiting your 12th house, and which is, the Pisces house. And Saturn, this is a great segue, because Saturn is also in your 12th house. Now, before I go to that, I want to show you first, though, that this opposition is actually part of a larger grand square. You can see it here with the nodal axis of the moon herself. So her own nodal axis is in square to her and Jupiter, causing this grand cross, or this grand square. Nobody's getting out of this, by the way. This is probably one of the most challenging aspects in the astrological chart, because there's no resolving something like this. This is fully structured, fully crystallized. This represent the 4, and the square represent absolute material structure. And so there's no getting around this. There's no going under it. There's no going over it, right? We are all going to be locked into what this grand square is, because we absolutely have to allow this unsealing within us, emotionally, subconsciously, however the moon is, however you are experiencing those lunar transits, it can't be hidden any longer. Who we are needs to come out. And when that happens, Pisces, the moon moving into Virgo right after, you can become very sensitive to the binding agreements, your relationships, your interpersonal relationships, the aspects, either people or business partnerships or anything that you have a binding contractual agreement with, even just life itself. You become very sensitive to the nature of yourself in that relationship. So part of it is the work that has been done in the 6th house and what it represents needs to come out. And I think over the last 2 days that the moon has been moving through Leo, people have been really feeling it, and you can see it everywhere. Just people that can't hold back who they are or their sovereign expression anymore. And for Pisces, this is real work for you. Like, you actually have to institute these Leo type of energy into your daily life as a practice, because otherwise you'll just find yourself completely giving over yourself to everybody else. And with Neptune in your first house, that has been even more so the case. Now, it's not all bad. It depends on other factors, of course, but now that Jupiter is going to be here after this opposition, it's just been holding the line in Aquarius in your 12th house this whole time. You're going to have such an advocate in who you are, your subjective experience, because Pisces people, you are the template for the spiritual transformation that is happening right now. So that grand square is just remarkable. And then right after that is where we get this square from Saturn to Uranus. That's exact on the 24th, right around the same time, very early in the morning. So the way that I've been describing this to people is just lighten up a little. These two titans are naturally going to cause problems for each other, no matter what relationship they have. And in a square, it's probably, again, one of the most difficult, because they're at cross purposes. So Saturn is our scaffolding and our anchor and our backbone, right? It's our spinal cord, and it does represent authority and structure and formalization. And so in the 12th house, with Saturn in your 12th house, Pisces, in Aquarius, it's really been giving a lot of these types of structural formations to a realm that has no structural formation usually, right? It is a very amorphous, isolating type of place in the 12th house. This is the ending in order to facilitate the next beginning. And so this is the collective karma, and this is the realm of dreams and the transcendental realm and the cosmic consciousness and forgiveness and compassion. And it's very humanitarian with an Aquarian 12th house. It really is you're not fully engaged in the experience of the collective unconscious. It's very much from a very mental place for Pisces, and that's because the very nature of who you are is the experience of being empathic and a healer and completely mystical. So when it comes to the realm of those places, Pisces people tend to, I think, utilize their mental faculties way more because they're so capable of making sense of that realm. And it is very much about this. It's very humanitarian because it's Aquarius. So Saturn being here has certainly really given an anchor or a backbone to this realm for you, Pisces. Now, the square to Uranus is been building for days now, and it becomes exact on the 24th. So for Pisces, this isn't the realm of the third house. This is the realm of your immediate environment, the realm of learning and language and communication. Like the third house is like, your texting and your DMs and your emails, like on a back and forth basis, and the people that you talk to at work or during, if you talk to people on your commute. Or third house is your technical skill, right? You're practicing something, you're learning something, right? This is about language in its structure. This is about the nervous system in its structure and cognitive function. So for Pisces to have Uranus here, especially its retrograde, it has been a very erratic and not very stable mental state. And the immediate environment may not be very stable or consistent. And that's okay, because Uranus retrograde at this particular degree has been allowing all of us to kind of scroll through realities in a way that we normally couldn't do in real time. We have to transcend the material with Uranus, open the third eye, and then all of a sudden we can, we can simultaneously window shop reality here. And we're all kind of internalizing this experience. Now, Saturn in your 12th house, I mean, it's very rooting, not even rooting you. That's more of a fourth house thing. It's literally providing the scaffolding in the spiritual realm, and it's making it very difficult, I think, for Pisces people to conceptualize anything outside of that. And so when it comes into a square with Uranus in the realm of just how your mind works on a daily basis, and your thinking and your communication and your reasoning, it's not allowing, Uranus really needs the freedom to innovate and to think outside of the box and to even revolutionize your thinking, right? And it's very difficult to do that just in general, but also too with Saturn in your 12th house. I mean, when the authority is, especially because Saturn, because it rules your 12th house and your 11th house, which is, all the Capricorn stuff in the 11th house. When there's so much focus here on the collective karma, when there is almost a responsibility that Pisces has been feeling towards the collective karma and the realm of transcendence, to the point where you can't really get away from it, it's really difficult. I can feel the difficulty with allowing the freedom and the ability to transcend that in order to revolutionize your own thinking, right? If that makes sense. And so if you don't allow for this, Pisces, this square is going to do it for you anyway. And it'll do it in a way that is going to really possibly fracture or put some sort of structural damage into this realm of the 12th house for you. And that will, if you don't allow for the the ability to be, I don't want to say unstable, but it will destabilize itself in this square if you are not willing to lean into the discomfort of this. And when that happens, then you can see how in the realm of mysticism, the fracture to a sense of control and authority and even protection in this realm, if it's cracked, you can see how that would lead to a break in this realm. And so it's very important, Pisces, and you have felt it building. So just keep that in mind, that it becomes exact, and that means that it'll still stay with us for the next couple of days. So just be easy on yourself, and you don't have to actually take all the responsibility for the collective's karma. It feels like you do, and you are in a position where you have more authority than most to do so, and that you can anchor yourself in this realm to allow for some revolutionary new thoughts and concepts, and allow for a shift in perspective or a radical reorientation of your mindset or your ideas. This can work for people. And that's what I've been really reporting to everybody. It can work if you are really willing to lean into it. Now, I'm not saying that this won't have devastating effects, and there are things that we can't control for. And Uranus and Taurus is definitely going to bring that to the surface for people. You know, there are things we can't control for, and that's the whole point of Uranus, right? If we anticipated what Uranus the trickster was going to do, we wouldn't actually wake up. So keep that in mind as well, that just because there is disruption in this area doesn't have to mean that this breaks. And there's a real possibility of that happening. And in the 12th house, to have stability and protection break in the 12th house can really lead to some serious issues. And you don't have to take the responsibility as much as it seems like. I mean, you can just allow this to just anchor yourself here, and a sense of security, because Jupiter is moving into your first house now. It's you can allow a breath in, and you can allow some advocacy into who you are and your identity. So the other thing that's really big on the same weekend is Mars is in conjunction with Antares, fixed star Antares, in your 10th house, and is trine to Chiron, now direct. So this is going to be a very forceful, assertive, and possibly very aggressive, sting from the heart of the Scorpion, from the truth. And you have Mars now moving through your 10th house of your career, and your mission, and what you're contributing to society as you understand it, right? And that happens a lot in the 9th house, how you understand it. So you're contributing it based on your understanding. So Mars in the 10th house really kind of puts that courage and bravery and that really forceful ambition into your career and into your mission. So there is a lot here that is going to push your mission forward, Pisces. But the sting is really going to be, it's going to make or break, right? There's going to be incredible healing in the realm of your resources, energetic resources, financial resources, your wealth, your assets, your tradition, your ancestry, your genetic history, your body itself. There is something that has been so suppressed for Pisces as a result of these identities that have been superimposed on all of us, and the shame and guilt for just being ourselves, that Pisces have absolutely just, it's just embedded in the very nature of the material world for you. It's in your, and I suspect that it has a lot to do with shame and guilt around resources and having resources, but also too, like in the body, like actual energetic templates in the body that have been probably with Pisces people for many generations. Mars is a warrior, and it has got a mission, especially in your 10th house, and it is going to clear out all of this bullshit out of your field. And it's an incredible moment. It's going to sting like no other. But boy, this is like what you're here to do. This is your mission. This is 10th house energy, and it's the meaning of Sagittarius, again, that is really providing the fire and the purifying alchemical fire, and the sting of the scorpion that is referencing also Archangel Uriel, right? It's the fire of God. And the fire of God has a real potential to heal these trauma wounds, these inner child wounds, and these victim wounds for everybody. But for Pisces, it's so much in the material essence of reality, your body. Like I said, your energetic templates, your genetics, and your ancestry. This is going to be, I think, a very, very profound healing for Pisces at a physical level. Not the actual process of healing. That's more of a sixth house. Strangely enough, that's where, as we talked about with the unsealing of something that you're feeling and you're very sensitive to, maybe it is in the realm of the healing or the convalescence, right? The actual process of healing, something that you're very sensitive to in this area that needs to, can't be contained anymore. And maybe that's really where it's coming from here, is this is the beginning of it. And then Mars comes in and just like I said, it's going to be very forceful and it's going to sting so bad for all of us, not just Pisces, but this is your mission and in your career, right? So you may find that you are so invested and really ambitiously going after political or social power in some way. And that's not negative. That's just what the 10th house is. And through that process of really going for it, it's going to heal aspects of your very resources and assets, and it's going to free them up big time. Now, Chiron's not going anywhere out of Aries anytime soon, so it's not like this is going to magically go away, but this is a big moment of healing. Like this is going to be a very big sweep of healing, a lot of density, if we know and expect it and are ready for it. Because otherwise, if you are not, it's just going to reinforce the victim role. And Pisces, this is a big problem, because it's so easy for a Pisces person to get into the martyr role. And this could be reinforced if we are not aware of how incredibly potent this transit really is. So we got Saturn, we talked about Mars and Chiron, Venus and Pluto are in your 11th house. So this is the second conjunction, and the value of the social order in general, and the value that you ascribe to the social order and the social organism as a whole, the associations, the networks, the social media networks, your friend groups, right? The larger social organism that you are part of. There's some aspect about the value there that is related to the third house. I mean, Venus rules your third house. So again, in order to make space for new thoughts and ideas and concepts, and even make space to revolutionize or innovate in the realm of your immediate environment, there's something in the larger social context that really is asking to be released. And in fact, Venus is very gracefully and maturely doing so with wisdom. Now, what happened the first time they came together last week was pretty impactful. So whatever that represented for you, Pisces, just think that now it's going to be much more of an introverted, deep inventory, and another willingness to offer more up to Pluto, to be taken in and transformed. So maybe not nearly as it was so intense the first time, but there's all these other things going on that this on top of it is just another layer to this crazy holiday cake, Pisces. So when we move to the actual third quarter moon, which is on the 26th and begins this last lunar quarter that did start with a solar eclipse. I mean, we got to make sure that we keep that in mind as well, that's where it all started, was the Sagittarian solar eclipse. All right, there we go. Let's see here. So this is Monday. We don't want to look at Monday. We want to look at, sorry. It just wants to do what it wants to do, which is, it is what it is. That's close enough. So the moon in Libra is going to square the Capricorn sun at the third quarter square. And this is a crisis in consciousness. The sun in your 11th house, I mean, it's really going to stand for and illuminate how important it is to you, Pisces, that the social organism as a whole, that everything is accounted for, right? Before you cross the threshold into a new territory, you want to make sure that everything is accounted for, everything is stacked where it needs to be, nothing is left unresolved, nothing is left untied in the social in the social sphere in general, right? And there's so much value that is being reestablished and reorganized and transformed for Pisces in this realm. Mercury's here, so you've been thinking so much about solving problems in the social realm and being very thorough now. Like, there's going to be a lot of sustainment and illumination around how important it is to thoroughly take care of things before crossing over, because you don't want to leave anything unresolved as you move in, which has everything to do with the eclipse that started, right? So now it's getting even more expressed in the next realm for all of us, and for Pisces, it's in this 11th house. So, but the moon in Libra, in your 8th house, is going to provide some sort of tension here as we all become very sensitive and maybe intuitively tapping into this drive to start visualizing what it is we actually want to create in the long run, and that we have to be able to visualize it clearly in our mind's eye if we want any hope of actually having it materialize. And so while we are on the outside very focused, especially Pisces, very focused in the social order as a whole, in making sure that all the loose ends are tied up, everything is taken care of before we cross the threshold, there's this more intuitive and subtle feeling in terms of the shadow for Pisces, in terms of the subconscious, and in the 8th house, it's you're like a magic mirror, so you might be reflecting too, not for just yourself, but anybody that you're in a binding agreement with. And at this point, we're all in a binding agreement with society in general, but you may find that this is related to any number of relationships that you could be in, and that you are if we have to be able to visualize what we want to produce in those relationships, if we want that to eventually materialize, and visualize the way that these resources are produced is also important. And so there's already starting to be like this tension here of like, well, I feel that this is really important to start visualizing what I want to materialize in this realm here, 8th house Pisces, but I'm finding a lot more of my voice and sustainment and illumination in tying up all these loose ends and making sure that everything is stacked before we move into the next the next realm, or step onto the new pathway in society as a whole, right? But as you know, Pisces, and as many people know, it's what we produce in the realm of our relationships in general, and the power of it that eventually will impact what this social or society actually looks like. And so these things are not mutually exclusive, right? You can feel into both of them. And that's the whole point of a square. You just feel into it, right? One is expressing yourself outward, and the other is how you feel on the inside. And it's just going to feel uncomfortable because one is about tying up loose ends and finishing what you started, and the other is already starting to visualize what's coming next in the realm of what you're producing in terms of resources. So, but part of this is very contingent upon this eventual trine, or the first trine with Mars and Chiron. Chiron is very much part of this story still, because the moon will eventually then come into an opposition to Chiron right after this. So it's hard for Pisces. But at the same time, like, you're able to just feel into the full experience of the big picture. And so in some ways you can simultaneously exist in both of these places at once, and it doesn't actually impact who you are at all. And in fact, Now, and then Jupiter coming into your first house by the new moon, which is going to be on the 2nd of January, just like we see here. We're going to see the new moon in Capricorn. So let it burn, Pisces. That's the thing. It's like eventually we have to come to terms with the fact that what comes into form will also decay, and we can transcend that in a spiritual sense by revering and focusing on the purifying and transmutational power of fire. So let it burn, right? You're going to, Pisces, you want to set intentions for your own personal growth over the next 4 months throughout January to be able to see the bigger transcendent picture of the society in general just burning, right? Burning away. And I think, again, out of all the people, Pisces is able to really fully engage in this experience, because who you are as a person is reflects the fact that you're fully immersed in the experience of everything, right? There's no difference, especially with Neptune here. There's no difference now between who you are and Great Spirit or Source. It's one in the same as far as you are concerned, and that is a beautiful model to have for all of us. But there is something really drawing you into this society in general. And the fact that it is, I mean, I think ultimately as a Pisces person, I mean, you're just very compassionate and very empathic to what is happening in a material way, especially what is being demolished. And I think that Pisces, for your own mental health, setting intentions with this new moon to be okay with letting it burn, to see the transcendental experience of it burning, is going to be really good for the Pisces mental health. And then, of course, you have Jupiter coming into your first house. That's going to be your personal advocate throughout its whole transit of Pisces. So it'll be okay. Yeah, I think that's it, Pisces. There's plenty to talk about, but I'm going to just leave it there. I think that a half hour is plenty of information in terms of how incredibly impactful all of these transits are. It is just blowing my mind as I'm going through these readings. So, Pisces, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. If you are interested in more information, supporting this work through Subscribestar, this is really important for me to continue to do this. And also, if you're interested in a personal reading, getting on my mailing list, you can do all of that either from the links in the description box, or you can certainly stick around to the end of this video and you can get more information that way. And I would really appreciate your subscriptions, liking this video, and any other way that you can interact with the content really does help with the overall function of what Catalyst Energies is trying to do. So I love you guys. Thanks, Pisces, for being here. I'll see you on the very next video. Bye.